I'm Norman Dickinson. I like eating pineapple pizzas. The first few minutes of Death Stranding can go something like this. The game opens up with a dramatic, wide-lens shot of the mountain landscape. You see it and go, whoa, this game is good graphics. Whoa, that's the most detailed cactus I've ever seen in my life, dude. You hear the music and you go like, this game is good music. And when you hold up Lou while Mining 61 plays in the background, you'll actually make your heart soar a little when you see her smiling at you. But then, when you get to the gameplay, you're like, oh. I feel like even the biggest Death Stranding and Kojima fans will likely consider the gameplay of the first game to be the weakest part, either because the rest of the game are so well crafted that they outshine it, or you just fucking hate the entire package delivery thingy-majiggy and the 2006 shooting mechanics. Now, I personally enjoyed the gameplay of the first game, but the combat was just, oh dear fucking god. But let's start from the top. Gameplay wise, Death Stranding 2 plays almost identical to the first game. Except now, instead of chugging Monster energy drinks, you're chugging tea, which may understandably turn off a lot of players and turn this game to 0 out of 10 for you guys. It doesn't overhaul or even innovate upon the delivery aspect of the first game. Instead, it refines and builds upon what was already there. The pacing at which you get new equipment is way better. You get tons of new tech and infrastructure, like a monorail or guns on your vehicles. Fundamentally, the game hasn't changed that much, but honestly, that's just what I wanted. There's something really tranquil and meditative about delivering packages while blasting Woodkid in the middle of a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The Strand system, where player-built structures appear in your world, still brings a strange, comforting sense of community in a place that feels otherwise empty, bleak, and isolating. Besides the core gameplay loop, everything else you love or hate about the first game is all here. The massive hologram exposition dumps, long cutscenes, the needlessly long cutscenes even when you do the smallest tasks. Okay, Norman Dickinson, let's take a shower. Skip. Okay, skip again. I don't need to see that. Skip. Oh, good. Back in bed. Finally. Of course, there are also some new stuff on the improvements, like the corpus, which is an easier to read version of the first game's emails. There's also a version of Instagram on this thing, even though you know it is actually not Instagram because of the massive lack of racism against minorities. But Cappy, I hear you ask, what about improvements to the combat?
You serious?
Yeah, the combat still fucking sucks mammoth dick. The game wants to be Metal Gear Solid 5 as it gives you dozens of weapons and tools to take enemies down. But just like the first game, you can obviously tell that the mechanics of the game are made to incorporate that type of gameplay. The shooting is stiff and the movement feels janky and restrictive. The game gives you a ton of cool stuff to use, only to actively penalize you for carrying too many of them. Also, some weapons and gear are just straight up overpowered. Why would I use these decoy or camouflage grenades when I could just easily throw a pizza dough at a guy's face and knock him out? All of these flaws I just mentioned are fine when you're fighting BTs because they look cool and don't shoot back, but when you fight against robots or human enemies, it makes you wonder how this game was made by the same man who created the Metal Gear series. The humanoid bosses. They're especially bad. The game shows you this badass cutscene of a military dude and his spec up soldiers rising from the tar. You're left in absolute awe as you gaze upon this nightmarish arena you'll be fighting in. Fireworks going off in the background of this devastated town. Wandering ghosts all around the place. There's a freaking carnival shooting off sparks in the background for some reason. But then when you actually get to the dude, you're treated to gunplay straight out of the early 2000s when you didn't even know what a third-person shooter even was. For the entire fight, you basically sit behind cover, wait until the guy runs out of bullets, and then you strafe awkwardly out of cover to shoot at him, and dive back behind cover after he recovers. Rinse and repeat until he dies. But in the game's defense, the game does allow you to learn CQC techniques from a pizza chef that allows you to literally toss a dude up in the air like he's pizza dough and then slam him back to the ground. So all is forgiven, and this is actually a 10 out of 10 game. Now, I know some of you might say, but Cappy, the combat was never the focus of Death Stranding. And that's true. But if a system is in the game and you're forced to engage with it and it fucking sucks, I kind of have to talk about it, right? I can't just go like, oh, the story, graphics, atmosphere, masterpiece. Combat? La 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 la, I can't hear you, 10 out of 10 game. The first Death Stranding dealt with extinction events, death in life, and other themes which are fundamental to existence itself. But at its core, it was always about a disillusioned, isolated man finding his way back to society again. Death Stranding 2 follows the same blueprint. Yes, it dives into deeper themes like AI dependency, but its core philosophy is summed up in its tagline, "Should we have connected?" Where the first game saw connection as salvation, the second asks whether it might also be a curse. Because in a world where everything is linked, it becomes easier for people to destroy one another. Where everything is linked, the entire network doesn't just become stronger, it might also become a bigger target. Hideo Kojima is pretty notorious for using massive expositional dialogues to tell his stories, and it is no different here. There have been some contention as to whether this works well in a post-apocalyptic world where you play as a delivery man compared to an espionage action thriller. Either way, if you don't like long cutscenes, then this game probably isn't really for you. Second game even adds in the classic dialogue system where your options are either to progress or ask more questions, because in 2025, every video game is legally required to have this, or else the studio will just burst into flames. The writing in Death Stranding 2 is also significantly more polished than the first one. While it was in no way, shape, or form badly written, the first one did have some scenes and dialogue which even by Kojima standards were, how should I put it? Alright, fucking stupid. I still remember that legendary scene where Sam and Amelie were talking on a beach and he was like, oh, so I'm Mario and you're Princess Peach. And Amelie was like, no, I'm not Princess Peach, I'm Princess Peach. Get it? Because I'm on the beach this entire time. And they started fucking giggling while running on the beaches. Terrific writing. Well, I'm happy to report that this game is significantly more serious and grounded because now you get to watch your companion, who is a doll possessed by a human soul, give you a J-pop choreography in your private room. Sources say that they spent 95% of the budget on this one dance scene alone. Much like the first game, Sam's companions this time around are just as engaging and on the nose when it comes to their names and what they symbolize. Except this time around, we get to understand both them and their relationship with Sam better as they actually join us on our adventure. While they're a bit superfluous to the bigger picture, I nonetheless welcome them because it doesn't just flesh them out more. It shows us that Sam is finally a part of the thing we built in the last game. However, true to the game's tagline, this can be somewhat of a double-edged sword. Because while it's nice to watch his cutscenes of Sam bonding with his crewmate, this also means that the game has to constantly pull you out of the action and back into your ship just to show them to you. You'll deliver one or two major orders and feel a sense of triumph and flow. At this point, you're thinking, fuck yeah, dude, I can do a few more of these and a few dozen more side orders to increase my connections as well, only for the game to put its hand on your chest and be like, no, I have a new character development moment you must watch. So get your ass back into the ship and watch it before I allow you to progress. Now. And also, you must sleep afterwards, even though the entire time you were just driving and use no stamina because fuck you. Still though, I rather enjoy watching these characters grow and deepen their bond with one another. Much like the first game, the heart and soul of Death Stranding 2 is still Sam's personal journey. And the answer to the question he posed can be found in his experiences as well.
I always thought I might be bad, now I'm sure that it's true, 'cause I think you're so good, and I'm nothing like you. Look at you go, I just adore you. I wish that I knew what makes you think I'm so special.
But then there's Hicks, that fucking piece of shit. He comes in and he sticks out his tongue, which is for some reason an octopus tentacle, and French kisses you. He also fights against a samurai with a guitar that can shoot fucking electricity when he shreds it. And after that, you both then have an epic guitar solo battle.